Hey, welcome to the Throttle podcast. I'm your host, Will Earnest, here tonight. Just myself, little quick episode tonight. I do apologize for my voice being pretty shot, as I've been sick for the past few days, but that's okay. And also, you may have noticed that Haley Bryan, aka my girlfriend, is not on the podcast tonight. That is okay. She was not able to make it. That is okay, because I still love her. So, yes. But yeah, quick little episode tonight. Let's get to some of, the big breaking news, if you will. Austin Prock, in, the world of NHRA. Austin Prock, the two-time defending NHRA funny car champion. In addition to that, his brother, who's his assistant crew chief, and his father, who's his crew chief, all three of them, all the Procks, they're leaving John Force Racing right after winning their second straight funny car championship. That's just a bombshell right there. I mean, that coupled with the fact of, Brittany Force is now out of the seat in Top Fuel, and John himself, officially announced his retirement. It's been a crazy end of the season just for John Force Racing in general, let alone the whole scope of NHRA silly season, which is, so the question is this: what do the Procks do now? Do they start their own team? What other team do they even go to that can provide the support and all that? There's rumors that they could go to Bob Tasca's team with a second funny car for them, but I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure. But yeah, so. And then, of course, got NASCAR drama heating up. It was announced that Michael Jordan is going to be the representative for the trial next Monday. As, of course, hopefully this damn NASCAR lawsuit can get over. It's been going on for over a year now. I've wrote a couple stories on it myself, so we'll see what happens. And we are going to have a full-on episode probably, next week, We'll have a full-on episode breaking down the lawsuit results, what's going to happen. We don't really know what's going to happen. Best case scenario, they settle or come up with an agreement, and it's kind of just business as usual. But worst case scenario, this could lead to some major ramifications with, getting rid of charters and all that, because there's a lot of teams that are not happy in NASCAR. I look at, Richard Childress and all that with those texts that got released. So this has turned into a very developing situation, and we'll see what happens with the trial on Monday. Of course, in court in North Carolina, Michael Jordan, the representative for the teams, 2311 in front row. So we'll see what happens. And we'll have coverage next week for next week's episode. But shifting gears, I want to talk about, a little bit lighthearted. Everybody loves talking about paint schemes. We all love paint schemes. There were good paint schemes, there were bad paint schemes, and there were ugly paint schemes. There's a big mix all over the board. There were really good paint schemes. There was Chris Buescher's Cinnamon Toast Crunch car from Summer Atlanta. Of course, I was there. And then, of course, you add on and mention Chase Elliott's Design to Drive car from that same Summer Atlanta race. Of course, he won. I think of Chastain's Kubota car that he ran. And even, Larson's Tony the Tiger car at Darlington in the spring. I really liked that. I really liked that scheme, too. It's interesting because a lot of people don't really like the 2311 Chumba Casino cars, but I really did like them. I really did like those cars. So, yeah. I did see Bubba Wallace win with it at Indy. So, I guess a little bit of bias, but I don't know, something about the yellow and the green and just the rainbow of colors on that black base just screams, I guess, casino in a way. I don't know. It's like fun, but not crazy, but still crazy at the same time. It's interesting. There were other schemes. I mean, RFK cooked with a bunch of schemes this year. You had Ryan Preece in the Totino's Pizza Roll car. Honestly, getting back to 2311, you have Reddick with all his Jordan cars. Specifically, I really liked Reddick's Chicago car with the shattered backboard design, if you will. Of course, Michael Jordan played for Chicago Bulls. So, yeah. There were a lot of good paint schemes this year. And then there were also some really bad paint schemes. Of course, everybody's least favorite paint scheme, Chase Elliott's throwback at Spring Darlington. That is just, ugh. That's ugly. Ugh. Hopefully they can come up with something better. And then Justin Haley's at the Roval. I don't know. I mean, there's other teams and schemes that have kind of come up with something similar to that. I mean, I think of like Trackhouse with the jockey cars. Like, those are okay, but Haley's with Gamebridge, and I get it, STEM and engineering. It's like, I get the concept. It's just, it didn't pan out. So I don't know. And I don't know. Blaney's body armor, but like the chill one, I don't know. It just didn't scream good. Like, it just feels like two paint schemes trying to mix together. And I've seen that most notably with like Jimmy Johnson's 2020 throwback scheme, where he had like the top half of his car looked like Richard Petty and the bottom half looked like Dale Earnhardt, because those were the other two 7-time champions besides him, and that was in Jimmy's last year. So I don't know. It's ugly. Yeah. That's kind of just about it for this week's episode of the Throttle podcast. Just, short, little, quick episode. We got the big NASCAR lawsuit, going to trial on Monday next week. So I guess in a few days from now, we'll see what happens. Major developments from that. And, coming up in a couple weeks, we'll have some other major talking events. Snowball Derby's coming up. Gateway Internationals is coming up. And then, before we know it, it'll be Chili Bowl season. And then the Clash of Bowman Gray will be here before you know it. I mean, we only got a few months in the off season, so yeah. But that's all we got for this week's episode. Short episode of the Throttle podcast, and happy Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Throttle podcast. Make sure you tune in and listen and download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the Chill Photography Instagram, Throttle podcast Instagram, and I'm working on photography and podcast TikToks as well. So that's in the works, but thank y'all for listening to this weekend's shortened episode of the Throttle podcast. Hopefully Evan is back next week, as he had family in town this week. And yeah, so that's all we got for this week's episode, and we will see y'all next week with the big lawsuit trial Monday. We'll see what happens, and then talk about Snowball Derby preview, talk about Gateway Internationals preview. You got Kyle Busch in the Snowball Derby. We got Host Barn at Gateway. So, yeah. See y'all next week.